Welcome to 7 Pot Club. I'm Rob.
I grow hot peppers.
Today, I'm pleased and excited to officially launch Calculated Risk, our hot sauce collaboration with Lost Capital Foods. Lost Capital is based right here in the Twin Cities, so I had the chance to see and film much of the sauce making process in person. It was fascinating, and I'm excited to share it with you in this video. This is not an ordinary hot sauce. It's a complex creation involving multiple steps. And the number one ingredient is peppers, so it definitely packs a serious punch. When you see the process involved in creating Calculated Risk, you'll understand why it may be the craftiest hot sauce ever, and why it was worth the effort. More about that in a minute. And if you like my music, be sure and stay tuned until the end for a new song inspired by a spoonful of this hot and flavorful sauce. First, let me tell you a little about Lost Capital Foods. Better yet, let's have DJ tell you. He's the co-founder and chief sauce strategist.
The company started in 2017 with Anastasia and I out of our house. She has a background in business finance that kind of gave me the confidence to think that we could pull off something like starting a hot sauce company and maybe sustaining the company long enough for people to find out about us. We were attempting to make the type of product we weren't seeing on store shelves. We wanted a hot sauce that was very produce forward. We wanted to try to put more peppers into a bottle than we thought we were seeing in a lot of sauces. We were trying to do something that had a lot less salt, had a lot less vinegar and the flavor of it. It became really important to us to work with local farms for the sake of getting the best quality produce, best quality peppers that we could to really make those flavors shine. We still put a lot of focus into that now with all of the ingredients we use, really.
Back in the summer of 2020, I reviewed 3 of Lost Capital's sauces for this channel. I was very impressed, and not only by the complex flavors in their fermented sauces. I loved the whimsical names of their sauces and condiments, all based around the idea that it's tough to turn a buck making small batch craft hot sauce. Did I mention they won multiple awards in the 2021 Fiery Foods Challenge? After the success of Scoville Scalé, our hot sauce collaboration with Hot Heads Official, I began looking for the right partner for another collab. Lost Capital was local, I loved their products, and DJ is great to work with, so I pitched him the idea.
I was honored. I was so excited at the idea of being able to talk about the type of chilies we were going to grow and the ability to kind of document this process is something that seemed so beyond where, humbly where I thought we were as a company, and was a big fan right from the get-go, watching the 7 Pot Club videos. And
we met up along the pepper path in August of last year to kick off the project and discuss our vision for this sauce. From my standpoint, I knew I wanted peppers to be the main ingredient. Big surprise there, huh? I also wanted to use a blend of many varieties, as I feel the combination of flavors adds depth and richness to a pepper-forward sauce.
We wanted the ingredient panel to look as abbreviated as possible, but then to really have all of these dimensions of flavor from all of these varietals of peppers and all of the different potential treatments of those peppers.
We decided to focus on yellow varieties, but agreed that peppers of all colors could be included in smaller quantities. DJ grows as well, so we would both supply peppers. He would augment as needed with locally sourced fatali from a local grower. So every week from late August through the end of September, we put aside some of our harvest for DJ. We photographed each batch before we gave it to him, and you're looking at them now. Some weeks we didn't have many yellow pods, but supplied whatever we could. These pods are our contribution to the sauce. How they were prepared by DJ is where it really gets interesting. DJ had a plan, and he and his crew were about to embark on a time-consuming and complicated multi-week process. There would be no way to make a test batch first and tweak the recipe. We had to go for it. Things can always go wrong, but I trusted DJ's instincts. That's why I pitched the name Calculated Risk. Most of the peppers used in Calculated Risk were fermented. I know that many of you are quite familiar with this age-old food preservation method that also enhances and amplifies flavors. But let's listen to DJ explain his process.
Lacto-fermentation, a bacterial culture, in this case lactobacillus. We use a Lactobacillus plantarum strain. Lactobacillus can survive in a saltier condition than most, say, bad bacteria or bacteria that would spoil food. So what we do is we create a saltwater solution and then introduce this bacterial culture to it. We know that with mixing a certain percentage of salt into the water, that something like botulinum, which creates botulism, couldn't survive in it, but the lactobacillus can thrive. What that does is it chews up sugars in the sauce and turns them into lactic acid. So kind of a historic way of making hot sauce isn't to so much add a lot of vinegar to create the acidity and then cook it to make it safe, but to let these peppers age. What it does is so much more than just give acidity to the sauce. It creates this like depth of character and this complexity that's really hard to kind of put a finger on. We were, we'll say, brewing or fermenting peppers at full capacity for this sauce. 2 very large fermenters going in, a couple of 6-gallon, like almost homebrew size fermenters that we were using for peppers as well.
Okay, so we've established that there was a whole lot of fermentation going on. But what happened to the peppers after they got funked up? Some of them were dehydrated into flakes. Again, let's get the scoop from DJ.
Fermenting chilies and then dehydrating them in a big kind of combination oven in order to create these, what looks like dried chili flakes, but something that had just so much more flavor than what you would get out of a commercial product like that. Something that brings in a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of saltiness and acidity from the ferment. So much more than just heat in a dried chili flake. Something that really made the flavor of the pepper shine and really touched multiple parts of the palate.
On a recent Sunday morning, DJ invited us to come by the kitchen to film some important steps in the process. When we walked in, he was getting ready to heat up some honey in a pan. What was he up to?
Most of the time, if you were to roast a product, you would use oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, what have you. Well, using oil can change the mouthfeel of a product, but it also can change the temperature at which you have to pasteurize a product. So in order to get around having to use oil in the roasting of something, we started to experiment with using honey. We use local, very high quality honey from a farm just west of the Twin Cities. In heating up a little of that, we were able to coat these peppers with it and then roast them off in the oven at around 350 degrees, but for a very short amount of time. That's also a pretty low temp for roasting something, but for a very short amount of time, just to start to caramelize the sugars that are in the honey. And you really start to bring out these darker sugar notes, reminiscent of like a Belgian candy sugar.
When the trays of peppers came out of the oven, the aroma was amazing, sweet and spicy. As an additional note, most of the honey roasted peppers had been fermented for varying lengths of time, while others were directly thawed and roasted. This made for a nice combination of fermented and fresh flavors.
After roasting these off, to finish them the rest of the way and really bring out a more precise amount of the type of sugars we're looking for, we hit them with a little like culinary torch. Bring up some kind of charred sugar flavors, but without the entire batch or the entire tray per se going into these like dark, almost burnt sugar kind of characteristics.
There is one fruit component in this sauce.
There's a local deli that I had worked with before, a big fan of on Como and St. Paul, that would always have white Colorado peaches out as well near the deli when you'd pick up a sandwich. I was able to get them to source some of those for us with the intent of using the highest quality fruit that I could in this sauce, so that way we didn't have to use a lot of it, because I didn't want it to, again, mask the flavor of the peppers that were in it. Wanted it to be more of an undertone and help create this body for the sauce, a little bit of sweetness there. So we char white peaches on cast iron to kind of build up these like caramelized sugars, also with the idea of that little bit of the char creating these like nice black flecks in a yellow or golden or orange sauce as well.
You probably noticed the well-equipped commercial kitchen space, so I want to take a moment to introduce you to the Good Acre, the local nonprofit whose mission is to connect and strengthen farmers, food makers, and communities through food. Lost Capital and other local food makers can use both their warehouse and shared use kitchen in the production of their products. About a week later, Kat and I returned to the kitchen to document the blending and combining of ingredients. Here's where we would finally find out if we'd created a masterpiece or a muddled mess. The process was already underway when we arrived. The mighty Vitamix was working overtime.
We then moved them into a commercial blender, about the same size as one you could have on the kitchen counter at your house. Smooth it out as best we can before moving the chilies into a steam-jacketed kettle. And then taking a very large immersion blender, which is probably the most fun instrument in the kitchen we have to use, and really incorporating the whole thing. At that point, it was a matter of figuring out what portion of the brine from which batches we wanted to add to get to the finished consistency, finished flavor, and finished amount of salt. Also, it was time to start incorporating these fermented chili flakes back to it in order to get the look that we were going for.
The final steps were cooking, bottling, and labeling.
That's an understated piece of creating, being a hot sauce maker in general, is the sheer number of spoonfuls of sauce you eat in the creation of any recipe. Really felt that the sugars from the white peach just didn't come up to match all of the fatale flavor and all of the, the flavor of more than 100 varietals of chilies that are in this sauce. So made the decision to cook it in order to smooth the recipe out a little more for the mouthfeel of it. Also to bring in those like little middle notes of sweetness. The idea being that we wanted something where you could really taste the peach and the honey in the beginning of the sauce before all of the pepper flavor really kind of just bloomed and exploded across the palate. So we make the decision to cook it. So in order to pasteurize a sauce without any oil or fat in it, bring it up to 180 degrees and hold it there for more than 10 minutes in order to make sure there are no longer any live cultures in the sauce, because we wouldn't want this to be something that started fermenting again while it was warehoused or while it was in transit to the customer. Especially this being the type of sauce with this level of heat, we wanted it to be something that would last as long as a customer wanted it to at their home.
And here's the kitchen team that made this sauce a reality: Anastasia, DJ, and Lee. I couldn't resist tube bombing this shot to show off my Lost Capital shirt. As we leave the kitchen, here's a final truth bomb from Anastasia.
Nobody ever talks about the dishes.
When it comes to hot sauce, what's most important is inside the bottle. But it also helps to have an attractive and informative label. For calculated risk, the overall design was handled by Nick, who's responsible for all Lost Capital's branding. His official title is Brand Ninja, Ecom Wizard, and Madman. The illustration came from our good friend, illustrator and fine artist John Sauer. You may recognize it from one of our most popular merch designs. He was kind enough to allow us to reuse it for this label. Yours truly wrote the short blurb on the side panel. Before I have a taste, and before you hear my new song, I want to make sure you know you can buy this amazing sauce at lostcapitalfoods.com. I'll also include a link in the description. This is a limited edition, so if you want a bottle, or 3, you should order soon. You might also want to try some of their other sauces and condiments. I don't earn a dime from the sale of this sauce. We received a couple of dozen bottles to use and share, and that's it. When you purchase this sauce, all the proceeds go to Lost Capital Foods, a small business that deserves your support. Wow. I'm already halfway through my second bottle. So many flavor notes. Fresh and fermented peppers, peach, honey, garlic, caramel, and heat. We weren't trying to make the hottest sauce ever, but it definitely delivers the Scovilles. This sauce is so smooth that sometimes it masks the true intensity, but not with this last bite. If you don't feel it while you're eating it, it might catch up with you later. At least that's my experience. This sauce was soft launched a couple of weeks back, and some reviews are already in. Anthony says, "It is so good, and I'm glad I ordered a few bottles." At first you get the hints of peach and ferment flavor, then the heat comes next, and yes, it's very hot. At the end you're left with a very fresh pepper profile. It really reminds me of peak pepper season when you have fresh pods on food. I love what you've done with the pepper flakes inside the bottle. I think that's what really makes this sauce special.
There were a lot of techniques that we had been polishing over the course of this past year, and we made a sauce that very much is a year in review of the kind of the talents that we were really trying to amplify in this one sauce.
So, is this the craftiest hot sauce ever? Was it worth all the effort that went into its creation? I think so, and now I'm ready to sing about it. Hope you enjoy the sauce and my new song.
Lacto-fermented, slow roasted, dehydrated, coated with honey, torch-blistered, then macerated. Sweet smell of peaches charring in a cast iron pan. Sounds kind of random, but I swear we had a plan. So many peppers, so many means of preparation, fiery and delectable, but would they work in combination? Take a leap of faith and step out on the ledge. Could we climb up to the top without falling off the edge? It was a calculated risk. What would happen if you pulled out all the stops? Gave it all you got? Well, we got layers of flavors with heat that you'll savor. This labor of love was worth the risk. It was a calculated risk. Looked good on paper and now tastes great as a sauce, because DJ is the boss. This man had a vision achieved with precision.
This isn't the moment where you make me chug this bottle, is it?
No, that'll be later.
This labor of love was worth the risk. This labor of love was worth the risk. It was a calculated risk. What would happen if you pulled out all the stops? Would there be magic in the sauce? Well, we got layers of flavors with heat that you'll savor. This labor of love was worth the risk. This labor of love was worth the risk. This labor of love was worth the calculated risk.
Hope you try calculated risk. If you do, please tag 7-Pot Club and Lost Capital Foods in your post and let us know what you think. Scoville Scalé, our hot sauce collaboration with Hotheads Official, is also still available. Tim recently made up a new batch from 2021's harvest, including some pods from 7-Pot Club, and it's just as incredible as the first. Link in the description. If you enjoy our content and would like to see more, you can help us grow by liking this video, subscribing to our channel, and tapping the bell to be notified when we post new episodes. Check out all our merch at 7pot.club/merch. If you'd like a free 7-Pot Club membership card and stickers, get the details at 7pot.club/card. And for even more 7-Pot Club, follow our daily exploits on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For 7-Pot Club, I'm Rob.